All right. Happy New Month, students. Welcome to the last month of the year. You made it, right? Thanks be to God for the great things He's done in our lives. This morning, we would like to continue our discussion on survey of English literature by taking a look, just a look, don't do much, just taking a look at Alexander Pope's The Rape of the Lock. The Rape of the Lock. Alexander Pope's The Rape of the Lock. It's on the course outline. The Rape of the Lock. However, to better understand the poem and the others that we will study or have studied in the course of the course, it's important for us to, first of all, expound on the concept of satire. Recall that we had said that one of the epithets assigned to the neoclassical period is that it is the age of satire. And we had defined satire as a work of art, right? As a work of art that ridicules human foibles with the intention of correcting them and making us live better lives. The satire is a work of literature that ridicules human weaknesses with the aim of making us laugh at our mistakes. And in the course of that laughter, we change ourselves. Satire is an effective technique for changing an individual because people cannot stand to be mocked or to be laughed at. People cannot stand being an object of ridicule. People hardly can stand being made fun of. And so most of the time, satires do bite. Usually when it combines the other techniques of lampoon, sarcasm, caricature, usually eats into the human person. In fact, there was a time when satire tended to have magical effects on the individual. The text was magically worded by the bard and then thrown at the individual. And it bites in such a way that the person might go home and commit suicide. It could be that extreme. It could be that extreme. All right? That's why sometimes, people in political offices cannot stand it. And so once in a while you hear that someone has been arrested and locked up because the person satirized the president, the person satirized the governor. The person made the governor or the president to look like a fool, because nobody can stand being an object of ridicule. So that's how effective satire is in altering not only the individual but also changing society. That's how effective it is as a tool of change. We have two types of satire. We have two types of satire. We have the formal satire, the formal satire, which is also known as direct satire. The formal satire, which is also known as the direct satire. That's one. And then we have the indirect satire. And we have the indirect satire. Okay, so let's look at the formal or direct satire. The formal or direct satire is denoted by the use of the personal pronoun I by the persona to address the reader or address himself or both at the same time. Or both at the same time. That's why it is direct satire. The persona speaks directly to the audience using the first person pronoun, I. We have two types of formal satire. We have two types of formal satire. We have two types of formal satire. We have the Horatian satire. We have the Horatian satire and the Juvenalian satire. We have the Horatian satire and the Juvenalian satire. Horatian is spelled H-O-R-A-T-I-A-N. H-O-R-N. Sorry, H-O-R-A, right? Yes. T-I-A-N. Horatian satire. H-O-R-A-T-I-A-N. Horatian satire. Then you also have the Juvenalian satire, spelled Juvenalian. Juvenalian satire. Juvenalian satire. Juvenalian satire. All right, let's check the first one, which is the Horatian satire. First of all, it should be noted that both the Horatian satire and the Juvenalian satire, both the Horatian satire and the Juvenalian satire could be understood based on the kind of persona found in the work and the attitude to the subject matter being discussed. They could be defined by two principles. One, based on the type of persona found in the work, and relatedly, based on the tone of the persona. Because tone is the attitude of the speaker to the subject matter being discussed. Because tone is the attitude of the speaker to the subject matter being discussed. Because tone is the attitude of the speaker to the subject matter being discussed. So in Horatian satire, the persona presents himself as tolerant, witty, and a urbane person. Urbane is spelled U-R-B-A-N-E. Urbane person, tolerant, witty, and urbane individual who presents human weaknesses in a mild and relaxed way so that everyone could laugh and correct their mistakes. That everyone could laugh and correct their mistakes. So that everyone could laugh and correct their mistakes. So this persona, this satire is mild on the victim. This satire, Horatian satire, is mild on the victim. It is not harsh. It is tolerant. It understands that everyone has their own faults, but that we can correct them by just laughing at ourselves. So we laugh ourselves out of our weaknesses. We laugh ourselves out of our faults. Okay? Through laughter, we recognize our frailties as humans and correct them. Through laughter, we understand, we appreciate our frailties as humans and then correct them. This satire is named after its Roman originator by name Horace. This satire is named after its Roman originator by name Horace. Horace spelled H-O-R-A-C-E. Noted for writing this type of satire. When you do something too much, it is named after you. Most times, things are named after those who do them or who overdo them or who do them in excess. Right? So, Horatian satire is named after its Roman originator and practitioner by name Horace. Okay, so a good example of Horatian satire is Alexander Pope's The Rape of the Lock and most of his moral essays. The Rape of the Lock could be read as a Horatian satire. The Rape of the Lock could be read as a Horatian satire. And the other moral essays of Pope could also be read as Horatian satire. Now we move on to, of course, when we study the poem, you know why it should be classed as Horatian. So the next is Juvenalian satire. From Juvenal, you have Juvenalian satire. It is named after its Roman originator and practitioner by name Juvenal. Juvenalian satire. Juvenalian satire. It is named after its Roman originator and practitioner by name Juvenal. This type of satire is opposite the Horatian counterpart, its Horatian counterpart. This type of satire is opposite its Horatian counterpart. Remember that both formal or direct satires, right? But one is the opposite of the other. One is the opposite of the other. Because the Juvenalian satire evokes contempt and moral indignation. Evokes contempt and moral indignation in the reader. Indignation means anger, and it is spelled INDIGNATION. Moral indignation, anger. This satire is harsh on the victim. This satire is harsh on the victim. The persona presents himself as standing on a high moral ground, as being on a moral high ground, to condemn the actions of the people he thinks have aged. He is very angry and harsh towards them. He is very angry and harsh beings. Remember that he is angry and harsh. He's angry and harsh. Examples of Juvenalian satire are the poem London by Samuel Johnson. The poem London by Samuel Johnson. The poem London by Samuel Johnson. Another example is The Vanity of Human Wishes by the same author. The Vanity of Human Wishes by the same author. The Vanity of Human Wishes by the same author. By Samuel Johnson. The Vanity of Human Wishes by the same author. Right. Same author. Right. When we also study Alexander Pope's An Essay on Man, when we also study an when we also study Alexander Pope's An Essay on Man, when we get to study Alexander Pope's An Essay on Man, we would see that it could also be read as a Juvenalian satire. It could also be read as a Juvenalian satire. It could also be studied because the tone is harsh and biting. Okay? Good. Then we move on to indirect satire. We move to indirect satire. We move to indirect satire. In indirect satire, the author puts characters in situations that is nothing but ridiculous. In indirect satire, the author puts characters in ridiculous situations. Author puts characters in ridiculous situations that cause the reader to laugh. A good example of indirect satire is the Menippean satire. A good example of indirect satire is the Menippean satire. Menippean is spelled capital M E double P, capital M, E N I double P E A N MENI double PEAN, Menippean satire. A good example of indirect satire is the Menippean satire, named after Menippus. Named after Menippus, its Greek originator. Named after Menippus, its Greek originator. Named after Menippus, its Greek originator. Menippus is taken from Menippean. So you have capital MENI double PUS, right? Menippus. Menippus. So the Menippean satire is usually rendered in prose. The Menippean satire is usually rendered in prose, whereas the other types of satire mentioned usually rendered in poetry. The Menippean satire is usually rendered in prose. And interspersed with verse or with verses. By verse we mean poetry. That means you have a poem once in a while. Okay? The Menippean satire is usually rendered in prose, interspersed with poetry. All right? Poetry intervenes once in a while. It is not directed at individuals necessarily, but rather at general attitudes of groups of persons, institutions, professionals, and literary people. Attitudes are criticized as well. The Menippean satire is not necessarily directed at a particular individual, but groups of people. It satirizes the excesses of professionals. It satirizes the excesses of professionals. People that have eccentric character. people with eccentricities, people noted for doing a particular thing or doing it to excess or overdoing it. Okay? For instance, if you criticize the police for a particular action, you are not singling out a particular policeman, but the group, all right? And you are satirizing something that is noted as cutting across the profession, the body, the institution. Okay, so it is not necessarily directed at individuals, but at groups. All right, and it satirizes the eccentricities, the excesses, the attitudes. Okay? A good example of Menippean satire is Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. We can read Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels as a Menippean satire. It's a Menippean satire. We can also read Voltaire's Candide as a Menippean satire. Candide is spelled C-A-N-D-I-D-E, Candide. Voltaire, spelled capital V-O-L-T-A-I-R-E, Voltaire, Candide. So we are going to study. Okay, so if I ask you, which of these types of satire will you use to describe? We used to describe Mark Flegnum. Oration. He's a good student. Right? Oration. Very good. All right, so we're going to study The Rape of the Lock as a Horatian satire. The poem is by Alexander Pope. The poem is a mock heroic epic. The poem is a mock heroic epic by Alexander Pope. An English writer who lived between 1688 and 1744. An English writer who lived between 1688 and 1744. Alexander Pope. So The Rape of the Lock is a mock heroic epic. Mock heroic epic. Who can remind us of the definition of the mock heroic poetry? Who can remind us of the definition of the mock heroic epic without opening the notes, without going back to the past, without referring to history? So we had defined the mock heroic epic as a poem that has all the characteristics of the epic except that it treats trivial subject matter. It has all the characteristics of the epic except that it treats trivial subject matter. Right? And that the result is usually satire or laughter. To use the form of the epic to discuss something trivial results in laughter. The poem first appeared in 1712. The poem first appeared in 1712. Improved in 1713, and then the final version in 1717. Improved upon in 1713, and then we have the final version in 1717. The current form of the poem comprises 5 cantos. 5 cantos and 794 lines. The current form of the poem comprises 5 cantos and 794 lines. The Rape of the Lock by Alexander Pope is based on a real-life story. The Rape of the Lock by Alexander Pope is based on a real-life story which happened between a lady and a lord. It involved a lady and a lord. Recall that we had said that in the neoclassical period, there were rules that regulated all aspects of human relations, including courtship or romance. So it is said that Lord Peter spelled P-E-T-R-E, had cut off the lock of hair belonging to Lady Arabella Farmer. Belonging to Lady Arabella Farmer. Arabella is spelled A-R-A-B-E-L-L-A. Arabella Farmer. Farmer is spelled F-E-R-M-O-R. Farmer. That's how it's supposed to be pronounced. Farmer. But spelled F-E-R-M-O-R. Farmer. Arabella Farmer. They were of the same faith. They were Catholic. But this action of cutting off the lock of the hair without taking permission, probably as a sign of love conquest, is not taken kindly by the lady. And so it leads to a quarrel that would involve the two families of the man and the woman. So this is the idea of the rape that we are talking about. It is not the conventional rape, but it is the rape of someone's hair, cutting it off without permission. Cutting it off without permission. The seriousness of the quarrel is seen in how it involves the two families of the people involved, of the lovers. You must note that in the neoclassical period, it was very important for the lady to be beautiful. In fact, more important to be beautiful than to be intelligent. In the neoclassical period, the laws of beauty for a lady was the laws of everything. It might even mean the laws of life. Because the lady was, first of all, beautiful before being anything else. So to cut off the hair was to attack the beauty of the lady, especially to cut it off without permission. So Pope's friend by name John Caryll, related the story to Pope and asked him to write a poem in such a way that would reconcile the two families when they read about it and see that it is not a very serious issue as they're making it. All right? The story was told to Pope by Pope's friend by name John Caryll, who asked Pope to write about it so that when the two families read about it, they will laugh at themselves and correct and change and make peace. All right? They will laugh at themselves and then make peace. They will now see that it is not as serious as they have tried to make it appear. Okay? That's why when we read the poem, you could see that unlike in the epic, where the muse was a supernatural force, in this poem, the muse is a human being. Okay? And they're not ordinary human being. So in the poem, Pope uses Belinda to represent Arabella Farmer. Belinda is spelled B-E-L-I-N-D-A. B-E-L-I-N-D-A, Belinda. Pope in the poem uses Belinda to represent Arabella Farmer. So when you see Belinda in the poem, know that that is Arabella Farmer. Okay? And he uses Baron to represent Lord Peter. He uses Baron to represent Lord Peter. Baron is spelled B-A-R-O-N. Baron to represent Lord Peter. In a dedicatory letter written by Pope to the lady being satirized in the poem, in a dedicatory letter written by Pope to the lady being satirized in the poem, Pope states, quotes, Pope states, quotes, it was intended to divert a few young ladies, was intended to divert a few young ladies, comma, who have good sense and good humor enough to laugh not only at their sex little unguarded follies, but at their own. It was intended only to divert a few young ladies, comma, who have what? Good sense and good humor enough, comma, to laugh not only at their sex's little unguarded follies, comma, but at their own. For their own. I'll take that again. It was intended only to divert a few young ladies as to entertain. Sometimes to distract means to entertain. To divert a few young ladies who have good sense and good humor enough, comma, to laugh not only at the sex's little unguarded follies, comma, but at their own. But at their own. Sex, S-E-X, apostrophe S. The sex's little unguarded follies, F-O-L-L-I-E-S, follies, but at their own as well. So we laugh at ourselves, and in the course of the laughter, we change our life. That's oration. That's oration satire. Okay? That's oration satire. So in the poem, instead of the supernatural forces, the gods and the goddesses usually found in the regular epic, in the conventional epic, what we have is a system of fairies, a set of fairies, taking the place of the supernatural forces like the gods and the goddesses. It should be noted that Pope took the idea of these fairies from a book entitled Le Comte de Gabalis. In a book entitled Le Comte de Gabalis. Le Comte, that's French. Le, that's L-E, Le. Then space, Comte, C-O-M-T-E. De Gabalis, D is D-E, then space. Gabalis, G-A-B-A-L-I-S. Comte de Gabalis. G-A-B-A-L-I-S. De Gabalis. It was published in 1670. It was published in 1670. In the book which espouses the beliefs of the Rosicrucian order, in the book which espouses the beliefs of the Rosicrucian order, it is stated that the four elements are inhabited by spirits. It is stated that the four elements are inhabited by spirits. The four elements are inhabited by spirits. And these spirits are selves. Selves. SYLPHS. SYLPHS. Selves. SYLPHS. Selves. Then you have gnomes. 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 Spelled GNOMES. 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 Then you have nymphs. 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 And finally, you have salamanders. You have salamanders. Salamanders. All right? Salamanders are spelled SALAMANDER. Salamanders. SALAMANDERS. Salamander. The gnomes, also known as demons of the earth, are mischievous in nature. The gnomes, also known as demons of the earth, are mischievous in nature. Are mischievous in nature. That's the character of the gnomes. The selves live in the air and are good creatures. They protect maidens. The action is to protect maidens. The selves live in the air and are good creatures. Their duty is to protect maidens. So in the poem, you will come across the selves protecting Belinda as a maiden, when she's a maiden. We are also told that these airy creatures like to be free. We're also told that these airy creatures like to be free. They will protect the maiden as long as they remain chaste. They will protect the maiden as long as they remain chaste. But once they lose their chastity, the power of the self to protect them will expire. Like the conventional epic, This poem begins in the middle of things. This poem begins in the middle of things. The Rape of the Lock begins in the middle of things. The Rape of the Lock begins in the middle of things, in medias res. Belinda is asleep, and she has passed the time that she should wake up. Belinda is depicted as asleep, and she has passed the time that she should wake up. The reason for this is that she is having a dream. The reason for this is that she's having a dream. And in literature, dreams usually foreshadow future events. In literature, dreams usually foreshadow impending events. His guardian spirit, Ariel, the chief of the selves, guarding Belinda, Ariel, A-R-I-E-L, the guardian spirit of Belinda, Ariel, is causing Belinda to dream about what is about to happen to her that day, the tragic events that will happen to her that day. Trying to warn her in her sleep about the tragic events of the day. We do not know exactly what is going to happen or how it has happened. These parts are shrouded in mystery. This part is shrouded in mystery. But Belinda is still in a dream that a dread event impends. That a dread event impends. A dread event impends. Something impends. Something will happen that she does not like. Something tragic will happen. A dread event impends. And then she's warned to beware of all, but most beware of man. I mean, the event will have something to do with a man. Because, of course, she's a maiden. Beware of all, but most beware of man. Beware of all, but most beware of man. It should also be noted that the mockery texture of the poem is captured right from the opening lines. The mockery texture of the poem is captured right from the opening lines. The mockery texture of the poem is captured right from the opening lines. What dire offense from amorous courses springs? What mighty contest rise from trivial things? Those are the beginning, the opening lines of the Rape of the Lock. What dire offense from amorous courses springs? What mighty contest rise from trivial things? From a love game that's supposed to bring happiness, a dire offense has come out of it, one that rips two family apart. And then it says, what mighty contest as conflicts rise from trivial things. So that is the text of the mock heroic epic. All right? And you could see from the first two lines the stanzaic structure of the poem, which is a typical mock heroic structure of a poem. All right? Because the first two lines constitute the couplets that the poem is written. The poem is written in couplets, in mock heroic couplets. The poem is written in mock heroic couplets. And by that we mean that it is a two-line stanza that rhymes and makes use of iambic pentameter. Another humorous thing in the poem is that the muse is a human being, not a supernatural force, like the one we find in the epic. So this also makes the poem a mock epic, because things are not as serious here as it is in the real epic, right? The muse of the poem is John Carew, Pope's friend, who told him the story and asked him to write about it. So that's the muse, an ordinary human being. Another predominant stylistic feature that you will come across in The Rape of the Lock is random capitalization. Is what? Random capitalization. Okay? Which was popular at this time, whereby the key words in a line of a poem are written in capital initials. All right? The key words in a line of a poem are rendered in capital initials. When you get the text of the poem, you take note of these things. All right? Content words. Content words. Most of the content words that contain the ideas, the important ideas in the poem are rendered in capital initials. We call them random capitalization, because it defies the normal capitalization in English sentences. So it's a stylistic feature, all right? Studied under graphology, all right? It's usually studied under graphology. So it could be one of the graphological features of the poem. And the main conflict of the poem is the quarrel between Arabella Farmer and Lord Peter, represented in the poem as Belinda and Baron. 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 This conflict is captured in the lines. So what strange motive, goddess, could compel A well-bred lord to assault a gentle belle. Oh, say what stranger cause, yet unexplored, could make a gentle belle reject a lord. All right? This is the source of the conflict of the problem. What could make a gentle lord to assault a belle? That's a beauty, a beautiful woman. And what could make a beautiful woman reject a gentle lord? All right? That's the major conflict at the point. So we go back to our story where we said that Belinda was asleep, an induced sleep by his guardian spirit Ariel to warn her about a very dreadful event that will happen that day. And what is the event? That a lord, somebody is planning, somebody will cut off a lock of hair. All right? Very serious issue. Very serious problem. Very serious tragedy before Belinda that day. Right? A terrible tragedy. Okay? And she's seriously warned that we don't know how this event will happen or what exactly it is. But then she's given a clue. Yes, she's given a clue. In the warning, beware of all, but most beware of man. All right? I mean that it is a man that will likely cause this problem, cause her this untold suffering. Right? And when Belinda wakes up, she immediately forgets the dream, as usually happens with human beings. Right? She will only remember it when the events has happened. That's when she'll say, "Oh, I was warned about this, that this will happen." All right? The attention is taken by the love letter she has received. All right? Inviting her for a social occasion that day at Hampton Court. Okay? And because she wakes up late, she begins preparation for the event immediately. She forgets all about the dream. Okay? She forgets all about the dream. So Belinda's makeup session, which is in the poem, is called Toilet. Belinda's toilet session or makeup session is described in using the metaphor of a soldier arming himself for war. All right? It's described using the imagery in the metaphor of a soldier arming himself for war. All right? And the weapons here are the cosmetic object, the makeup object, like the cream, all right? The powder. They're all weapons, all right? That's why in the poem you come across an expression like cosmetic powers, right? And they are meant to conquer men, right? They are meant to be used to defeat men, right? In the war of love, right? And this is also seen in the expression, now awful beauty puts on all its arms. Now awful beauty puts on all its arms. Because the essence is to defeat men in the game of war, conquer men in the game of war, or make men fall. All right? Not a bad fall necessarily, but to fall in love. And the self has also seen performing their duties on Belinda, because they're actually the ones that protect her and guard her, and they're actually the ones that make her beautiful. All right? They're the ones that polish her spiritually to make her beautiful. They're very active, putting finishing touches on Belinda, but they're invisible. Belinda does not know. So that at the end of the day, she gives credit to her maid, Betty, Betty, not knowing that the real people who did the job to make her that beautiful are the cells, the invisible cells. So we have it that in the line, this set the head and this divide the hair. Some fold the sleeve while others plait the gown, and Betty's pressed for labors not her own. All right. After the cells have done all this great work, Belinda praises Betty without knowing that the invisible cells that made her so beautiful. Okay. And in Canto 2, Belinda's beauty is described. In Canto 2, Belinda's beauty is described, and the wall imagery is sustained in the description of this beauty in terms of how it affects the people around her, the people who tend to look at her. Okay? It charms, conquers, and defeats all the hearts of the eyes that gaze upon her. Okay? One of the lines says, bright as the sun, her eyes the gazer strike. Bright as the sun, her eyes the gazer strike. Right? Her eyes are described as bright as the sun, which is a simile. And then it strikes those who look at her. Right? So the war imagery is sustained in the poem. So the game of love is then depicted as a form of war, where conquest is expected. The ornaments that she wears on her body also contribute to her beauty. And the effects that they have on the people around her are captured in this line. On a white breast, a sparkling cross she wore, which Jews might kiss and infidels adore. On a white breast, a sparkling cross she wore, which Jews may kiss and infidels adore. All right? Now, ordinarily, the cross is a symbol of Christianity, right? And Jews will never be Christians, right? They will never be Christians. It's difficult to convert a Jew to be a Christian. They believe in the law of Moses, all right? And infidels are Muslims, all right, who will never be converted either to the Jewish religion or to Christianity. But because of the position of the cross, where the cross is, they will mind becoming Christians, all right? Because of where the cross is positioned. These two sects, the Jews and the infidel, will mind being a Christian. So that describes the effect that ornaments have on people. It converts them from the stiff ideological stance, okay, just because of Belinda. One of the neoclassical social rules on love and romance is captured in the lines. In the lines, oft she rejects, but never once offends. Oft she rejects, but never once offends. Oft she rejects, but never once offends. That means she has many admirers. She has many admirers, and she rejects many of them, but in such a way that it does not offend them. Okay? It is the art of being a lady. Or there's one of the social graces expected, one of the social rules in courtship in neoclassical period, politeness, even in rejection. All right? So at the center of the conflict in the poem is Belinda's hair. And the poet takes time to describe this hair. Okay? And in the description of the hair, we see the strenuous process that ladies usually go through in order to be beautiful. See that it is not easy to be beautiful. It takes pain. It takes pain and endurance in order to be beautiful. Okay? Which is why someone said that every lady knows that it takes labor to be beautiful. Every beautiful lady knows that it takes labor to be beautiful. All right? And of course, it happens even till our day, where people go through unrecountable ordeals to change certain parts of their body to where they want it, to how they want it to be. And sometimes they die in the process. Okay? And sometimes they endure a life of unbearable pain. Okay? Some want to change their nose to a certain way. All right? So it takes labor. So the hair is described as heavy in the first place. And there are 3 locks, so you could understand how heavy it is. And they are bound with lead, metal called lead. The hair is heavy on its own, and then now a metal is used to bind them. So you could see that it is not easy as Belinda steps out. Okay, but she has to bear it because this hair also is central to her beauty. Okay? So you can imagine the pain when it is actually finally cut off without permission. All right? All hell will be let loose. And the importance of the hair in attracting men is emphasized in the poem. In the lines, and mighty hearts are held in slender chains, with hairy springes, we the birds betray. All right? And mighty hearts are held with slender chains. Slender chains referring to the hair. All right? Which captures the heart of the man, of a man like Lord Peter. And then an instance in nature is used to justify it when the poet says, with hairy springes, we the birds betray. Use something very tiny to catch the birds. And then the same thing with the hair, the woman's hair, which is used to hold the heart of a man. Okay, like Lord Peter. No matter how mighty he might be. All right? If the man could be so powerful, he could break chains, real chains, but only to be held by the woman's hair. So that's what's described in the line. The persona then reports on how Baron cherishes and covets Belinda's hair. Immediately Baron sees the hair, he wants it by all means. Okay? Wants to have it by all means. He's determined to get the hair as one of the trophies of his love adventures. Okay? He wants it by all means. This is seen in the lines. He saw, he wished, and to the prize aspired. He saw, he wished, and to the prize aspired. Okay? And as far as is concerned, it does not matter the method that he will use. What he wants is to get the hair at the end of the day. What matters is that he must get the hair at the end of the day. All right? So you must keep in mind the triviality of the subject matter of this poem, because that is what makes it mock heroic epic poetry. You must keep in mind the triviality of the subject matter of the poem. Okay? So the idea that all is fair in war and love is depicted in this poem. The idea that all is fair in war and love is depicted in this poem. The idea that all is fair in war and love is depicted in this poem. In the lines, for when success a lover's toil attends, few ask if fraud or force attend its ends. All right? The idea is to be successful in one's love wishes and not necessarily to question the methods used for the success. All right? At least that is how the author makes it appear from the perspective of Baron. All right? Baron even goes as far as sacrificing to the gods in order to attain the goal of having Belinda's lock of hair. Baron even goes, because in the real epic, in the conventional epic, when the knights were about to go for battle, they will sacrifice to their respective protectors and protectresses. Their gods, the gods that they worship, they will go and sacrifice to the gods, asking for victory. So this is what the Baron is also doing in this case. He desires Belinda's lock of hair, and to have it, he has to pray to make the right sacrifice to his God, to ask for success, ask for victory. Now pay attention to the object of the sacrifice. Pay attention to the object of the sacrifice, because they also deepen the mock heroic texture of the poem. They also deepen the mock heroic texture of the poem. The objects of sacrifice are 12 French romances. 12 French romances. It could be storybooks. It could be the 12 love conquests that he made in France. But I will go for it being love books that he has, love texts that he could also be both. He sacrificed 12 French romances, 3 garters, Garter, and S, 3 garters. A part of the woman's dress, 3 garters, Garter, TRS, a band worn around the leg to keep a stocking or sock up. A band worn around the leg to keep a stocking or sock up. 3 garters. Have a pair of gloves. Have a pair of gloves. Have a pair of gloves. All right, all these things he must have taken from other women. And now, because of Belinda, he's sacrificing all of them to the God of love. All right, just to get Belinda's hair. All right, because you know that these things are not men's items of clothing, right? They are not. They are women's items of clothing. Maybe in the past he has taken this from other women, and now because of this particular lock of hair, he will let go all these trophies. All right, and then it is added there, finally, all the trophies of his former loves. So he has given everything away just for this Belinda's lock of hair. All right? He has sacrificed everything that he has ever had. All right? All his past relationships and the trophies he won from them just for this particular lock of hair. Right? So he places these items on love's altar. All right? He places these items on love's altar, and he lights the altar with one of the best love letters he has ever received. In the poem, the love letter is rendered as Billet d'Ors. Billet d'Ors. Billet d'Ors. It's in French. All right? Billet d'Ors. So he uses one of the best love letters he ever received to light the items of sacrifice. And then he increases the fire with 3 amorous sighs. He uses 3 amorous sighs, 3 love sighs, to increase the flame of the sacrificial fire. All right? After that, he then prays for success. When the items have been burned, he prays for success. He prays for success. He earnestly asks the God of love, to give him this item that he's looking for, to grant him this item that he's looking for. The line says, then prostrate falls and begs with ardent eyes, soon to obtain and long possess the prize. That's his prayer. Soon to obtain and long possess the prize. He wants to not only obtain Belinda's hair, but to keep it for as long as it is possible. All right? Because he really cherishes the lock of hair. So it is noted in the poem, that it is only half of the baron's prayer that is granted, and the other half is dispersed by the wind. Only half of the baron's prayer is answered, is heard by the gods. The other half is dispersed by the wind. The other half is dispersed by the wind. All right? Remember, the first part of the prayer was soon to obtain. And the second part was and long possess. Right? So by the time we get to the end of the poem, we see that it was the first part that was answered, soon to obtain. The other one was not guaranteed. To keep it for long was never guaranteed. Right? Because the hair is so valuable, right, that it cannot be kept by one human being, right? It cannot be custodied by one human being. So after now, Ariel summons all the spirits under his command. Remember, Ariel is the chief protector of Belinda. He is the commander of all the souls that have been assigned to do duties on Belinda. Right? So Ariel summons all the spirits because he knows the tragedy that will befall Belinda that day. And after he has gathered the sylphs, he warns them not to neglect their duties on Belinda. He assigns them to protect Belinda. All parts of the body of Belinda is assigned. Some are assigned to protect her petticoat, some protect her hair, some to protect her ear. All the parts of the thousands of cells that have been assigned to watch more than any other day, because today is different. All right? Because today something very serious is about to happen. All right? And then he tells them of the consequences if any of them neglect their duties on Belinda. Should they neglect their duties on Belinda, they will know the consequences. The consequences are in terms of having their movements restricted. Remember, at the initial point of the lecture, I had said that these airy beings like to be free. So the greatest punishment you can give them is to have their movements restricted. Okay? So Ariel threatens to transfix them with pins. All right? And imprison them in vials so they cannot move around as they would like. That's their punishment. So because of this, they are alert. Okay, they are at high alert, right? And they are waiting for the birth of fate. They are waiting for what? The birth of fate. Remember, in the world of the epic, events are fated. In the world of the epic, the conventional epic, events are fated. Meaning that once it has been prophesied, it cannot be reversed. It cannot be stopped. It must happen. So they wait. All right? To see how they can salvage the situation when it finally happens. Ariel says, whatever spirit careless of his charge is supposed to neglect or leaves the fair at large shall feel sharp vengeance soon overtake his sons, be stopped in vials or transfixed with pins, and all the other punishments that will be given to that erring soul who will neglect his duty on Belinda on this fateful day. So whatever is going to happen to Belinda is a fated event, as we've said. Whatever is going to happen to Belinda is a fated event. And it cannot be undone. Cannot be undone. And now we are in Canto 3. We are now in Canto 3. Belinda is now outside. Belinda is now outside, heading to Hampton Court. Belinda is now outside, heading to Hampton Court. Hampton Court is spelled Hampton. 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 All right? Hampton. 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 Court. 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 All rendered in capital initials. The Hampton Court is a place where people gather to discuss events like Plaza. Some of you know Plaza, right? In those days. The Hampton Court is a place where people gather to discuss events, all right? meet lovers, and gossip. It's a place where people gather to discuss current events. You go to plaza, you see newspapers, you see people gathering, all right, and they'll be debating. Okay? You can join them, all right? And do the debates about the two parties and who will win. They might talk about the obedience, all right? So, Hampton Court is a place where people gather to discuss events, meet lovers, all right, and then gossip. Okay? About contemporary events, about people, and all of that. Okay? So, for instance, they gossip about, quote and unquote, who gave the ball or paid the visit last. One speaks of the glory of the British Queen, and one describes a charming Indian screen. A third interprets motion, looks, and eyes. All right? That's also this rich and spoiled people of the time, the gentry. They would just gather there and then gossip about everything. Who gave the ball? That means who gave the last party? Who visited last? Those are the things that they talk about. One speaks the glory of the British Queen, probably Queen Anne, and one describes a charming Indian screen. A third interprets motion, looks, and eyes. Will say, see that person's face. That means it means he's not happy, or it means he's ashamed. See, look at the face. All right? And then one interprets motion, or see how he's walking. See how that one is walking. Very jobless activities. Right? Looks and eyes. Okay? And then note the expression, at every word a reputation dies. At every word a reputation dies. All right? They don't kill, literally, they kill reputations, right? At every word a reputation dies. Who gave the ball or paid the visit last? One speaks of the glory of the British Queen, and one describes a charming Indian screen. A third interprets motion, looks, and eyes. At every word, a reputation dies. They kill reputation by their words, not necessarily the real human being or the person himself. So Belinda has arrived at the Hampton Court to meet Lord Peter, or for her appointment, all right? And she is now playing the Amber game with Lord Peter. She's now playing the Amber game. It's a card game. It's a card game. Card game. C-A-R-D. C-A-R-D. Card game called Amber. The card game is played as if it is a war. So there's a war is a motif in this poem, because the real epic is really about war, all right? And so the war motif is sustained in the poem. It's just that this war is not as serious as the one in the real epic, all right? In this poem, people, serious weapons are not used. People don't really die. Maybe reputation can be killed, all right? In this poem, you can kill somebody by frowning at the person, all right? Somebody can just drop dead when you frown at the person. And when you smile at the person is revived, okay? So nothing serious. Nothing serious. So Belinda and Lord Peter are engaged in the Amber game, which is played using war imagery, conquest. In this game, Belinda is protected by Ariel and the other selves. Belinda wins this game mostly because of the help of the serf, but it can also be that because the Baron is allowing her to win because he has something to take from her. He has something to win to later. So while playing the game and allowing her to win, Baron is plotting. Baron, who is Lord Peter, is plotting on how to get one of Belinda's locks of hair. At this point, all the serfs are in high alert. Okay? Especially when Clarissa hands over the scissors to Baron. When Clarissa hands over the scissors to Baron. Clarissa is spelled Clarissa. Just as ladies usually help their lords to carry their weapon or tie an apron of success on their weapon before handing over to their lord in jousting. All right? That is actually the same thing that Clarissa is doing by giving these scissors to Baron to use in cutting Belinda's lock of hair when she's not looking. All right? Social rule would have been for the Baron to politely ask Belinda for the lock of hair. And she would have willingly given it to him as a sign of their love. All right? So by taking it without permission, he had broken one of the rules of courtship. And all hell will be let loose. All right? So, in the poem, it is described that the Baron tries 3 times unsuccessfully to cut Belinda's lock of hair because each time that Belinda turns away and the Baron wants to cut the lock, some of the serfs will make Belinda have itching sensation in that part of the ear, and then she will turn. All right? So sometimes when you have this itching sensation on you, you might know that it might be one of your guardian angels trying to warn you, all right, to look in a certain direction, right? So each time she will turn, and then the Baron will withdraw the scissors. And then on the third time, Ariel looks into Belinda's heart and discovers that a man is there already. All right? When Ariel looks into Belinda's heart, he discovers a man in there, meaning that Belinda has fallen in love against the rule of maiden chastity. All right? Against the rule of maiden chastity. She was not supposed to fall in love. All right? Once you fall in love, you are not a maiden anymore. And being that Belinda has fallen in love, the powers of the Ariel and the other sylphs to protect her expired. And they left her unprotected. And that is how the Baron, on the third time, is able to cut the lock of hair. All right, which is the climax of the epic, which is the tragedy of this mock epic poetry. The height of the action. Okay? And it is this particular action that brings Canto 3 to an end. And then we go to Canto 4 that gives us the reaction the reaction, the response of Belinda to this social disgrace, this social violation. All right? Of her head, of her body, as it were. All right? It is seen that she screams in such a way that the scream could be heard all around the universe. Right? She screams when she discovers that her precious lock of hair has been cut off. All right? She screams in such a way that the scream has an epic reach because it could be heard all around the cosmos. All right? Because remember, events in the world of the conventional epic usually have cosmopolitan reach. It instantly affects the entire world, right? So the same thing with Belinda's scream after discovering the loss of her precious lock of hair. Not youthful kings in battle ceased alive, not scornful virgins who dark charms survive, not ardent lovers robbed the world that bleach, not ancient ladies when refused a kiss, not tyrants fierce that unrepenting die, e'er felt such rage, resentment, and despair as thou, sad virgin, for thy ravished hair. The hair has been ravished. And the persona is using that description to show the depth of the sadness that Belinda felt after the loss of this hair. Okay? Not youthful kings in battle ceased alive ever felt such rage, such anger. Okay? Not ancient ladies when refused a kiss. Right? Ever felt such rage. So this explains Belinda's scream. She mourns for her loss of hair, and it attracts the attention of all the people in Hampton Court, all the ladies and gentlemen present in Hampton Court. Some of them are divided. Some of them support Lord Peter Baron. Some of them support Baron, while some of them support Belinda. Then we have a gnome by name Umbro. A gnome. We've spelled gnome before in this class. We have a gnome by name Umbro. Gnome is spelled Gnomes. Umbral is spelled Umbriel. Umbro. Right? We have a gnome by name Umbro who journeys to the cave of spleen. Who journeys to the cave of spleen. Cave is spelled C-A-V-E. Cave of spleen. Spleen is spelled S-P-L-E-E-N. Cave of spleen. It is under earth. Under the earth. It's under the earth. The cave of spleen is characterized by gloom, sadness, and despair. It is located below the earth. And it is characterized by what? Characterized by what? Gloom, sadness, and despair. She goes there to receive the emotions that are appropriate to what Belinda is feeling now. And he wants to gift this to Belinda so that Belinda could express her emotions. So the gifts given to Umbro in the cave of spleen are sighs, sobs. These are the things that Belinda needs now to cry or to bemoan her fate. Sighs, S-I-G-H-S, sobs, S-O-B-S, sobs. All right? And passions, and war of tongues, Because you cannot fight real war in this poem. You can only fight using words. War of tongues. Amber is also given a vial filled with fainting fears. Soft sorrows, melting griefs. Not serious at all. Melting griefs, soft sorrows, fainting fears, and flowing tears. All this Belinda will need to bemoan her fate. All right? When Umbro returned, he pours all this on Belinda. He pours all these emotions on Belinda. And there's a character by name Thalestris. Spelled Thalestris. Take that again, Thalestris. Thalestris. Who makes a speech that brings out the worst passion from Belinda, because the speech focuses on reminding Belinda of how grave her situation is right now, since she has lost a lock of hair, a beautiful lock of hair. For instance, the speech is full of rhetorical questions, and they achieve the effect of making Belinda think of her unfortunate situation. And the speech goes as follows. Was it for this you took such constant care, the bodkin, comb, and essence to prepare? For this your locks in paper durance bound? For this with torturing irons wreathed around? For this with fillets strained your tender head, and bravely bore the double load of lead? You see, it's like she's telling Belinda, you took all of these pains, you went through all this process just only to be disgraced like this. All right? You prepared so much to look beautiful, you carried this heavy hair and all of that. You went through all the pains only for this to happen. It really makes Belinda see her unfortunate situation and cry the most. All right? So Thalestris has already foreseen Belinda as the subject of gossips around Hampton Court. She's now going to be the subject of gossip. That when people gather around Hampton Court, Belinda will be the toast of the talk. All right? So remember Belinda, whose hair was cut off by Lord Peter the other day? The one will say, yes, we remember. They'll start talking about it. All right? She says, methinks already I your tears survey, already hear the horrid things they say, already see you a degraded toast, and all your honor in a whisper lost. All right? And in the poem, Thalestris asks Sir Plume to demand the hair from the Baron. Baron vows never to return Belinda's hair. All right? Then Belinda mourns with regret. She says, forever cursed be this detested day, which snatched my best, my favorite curl away. Happy I at 10 times happy had I been if Hampton Court that these eyes had never seen. I say that again. Forever cursed be this detested day, which snatched my best, my favorite curl away. Happy I, 10 times happy had I been, if Hampton Court this high had never seen. She regrets coming to Hampton Court and says would have been happier if she never came, and cursed the day that took her best lock of hair away. Um, she now remembers the dream, only too late. The precarious nature of cuddly love did not just begin with Belinda. Cuddly love is precarious. People use all manner of tricks to effect their love desires. It says, yet am not I the first mistaken maid, by love of court to numerous ills betrayed. All right? Courtly love was full of betrayals and mischievous acts. Then Belinda remembers her dream earlier in the day with regret. She says, a self to warn me of the threat of fate in mystic visions, now believed too late. All right? And that is where we'll stop our discussion of the poem today. When we come back, we'll take Canto 5 and then read the poem. And so remind me to give you the poem later. Have a blessed morning. Thank you, sir.